This is the story of a beautiful girl in a faraway place a long time ago. It starts with a savage storm which raged on, winds howled through the valley, and rain lashed against the makeshift tents where the laborers who were constructing the KHOJAK tunnel in Balochistan had huddled together for warmth. The night was dark, and the only light came from the flickering embers of a dying fire. In the center of the camp under a gazebo. Suddenly, the barking of the dogs outside the tents stirred the laborers from their slumber. As they peered outside, they saw a sight that left them speechless. Dancing around the fire, oblivious to the raging storm, as if in a trance, was a young girl in tattered clothes. She was thin and delicate, with a great innocent look on her face. Her dancing was enchanting, and she moved with such grace that it seemed like she was floating in the air. They wondered how a girl could have reached this remote, desolate, dangerous area, alone with not a soul around for hundreds of miles. Then they recalled. A caravan had passed by a day before, and presumed somehow she got separated from it, but as suddenly as she had appeared, she collapsed. Her body racked with exhaustion. The laborers rushed to her side, shaking her to revive her. When she opened her eyes, she looked up at them with a gaze so intense that it sent shivers down their spines. When they asked for her name, she muttered weakly, "Sheila," but as she gained more consciousness and became aware of the horde of fierce-looking men bent over her, she shrieked in terror and scrambled to her feet, running as fast as she could into the wilderness. The laborers, astonished by her sudden fright, ran after her, calling out for her to stop. But the fierce storm that had raged all night made it difficult for them to see or hear anything. The intensity of the rain and thunderstorm dissuaded them from following her for too long. The next morning, a few of the men set out to look for her, but they were certain that she wouldn't have survived the stormy night in the wilderness. However, as they ventured deeper into the area, they found her sitting under the ledge of a mountain. On seeing the approaching men, she shuddered in fear and refused to accompany them. The men realized that she had been through a lot and needed help. They returned to the camp and gathered clothes, blankets, and food for her. When they returned to her, she was still shivering violently with fear and refused to speak to them. The men decided to wait patiently, giving her space and time to trust them. They were always surprised by her great beauty and innocent looks, which made her seem even more vulnerable. In this fierce and remote area, in such situations, it was not uncommon for women to be killed or molested. But due to an aura of profound mystique, innocence and spirituality enveloping her being, nobody dared to harm her, as an impression somehow developed in their minds that harming her would bring them bad luck. As the days passed, Sheila's presence became a regular part of the laborers' lives. She always stayed away from the camp, but never too far. She never spoke of her past, or why she had come to this faraway, forsaken place. But it was clear from her looks that she had suffered some great tragedy. She seldom spoke, and was often seen with tears trickling down her beautiful face. Gradually, they found that her words would come true, and that her prayers were answered. They started to regard her as a saint. The laborers would give her money for her blessings, but she had no use for money, and instead would give it away all to others who came to her. Sheila continued to live alone in the mountains. At times, in moonlit nights, she would be seen swirling and swaying for hours, as if meditating and contemplating, which the laborers mistook for dancing. This is how she became famous far and wide. As Sheila the dancer, she appeared mysteriously and disappeared mysteriously. No one knows from where she came and what happened to her. She had such a profound impact on the minds of the laborers of the KHOJAK tunnel that they named the place after her, Sheila Bagh, meaning Garden of Sheila. Though history may have forgotten her, her spirit lived on in the hearts of those who knew her. As the years went by, the laborers who had once watched her dance passed away, and new generations took their place. But the legend of Sheila lived on. People still talked about her, about the way she would dance in the moonlight, and how she would make their prayers come true. But no one knows her true story, or which tragedy had driven her to seek solace in the wilderness. Her story touched the hearts of millions, and her name lived on in the windswept wilderness, where she had sought solace so many years ago. Some say it's a true story, while others claim that it's only a legend, and that Sali is a Pashto word for water current. But whatever the truth may be, the legend of Sheila lives on.